Okay, last couple of weeks we were talking about theology and our worldview. Hope you have read the notes and thought through it. We want today to talk about philosophy and our worldview. But before we start, I wanted to come to two passages. One is Galatians chapter 6 verses 14 and 15. We all know that. Paul said, "But God forbid that I should boast. Our glory save in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the world." That's the right perspective in which we must look at the world. We must look at the world as something that is crucified to us. And the world should see us as people who are crucified. Because Paul said, "I will glory only in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom the world is crucified unto me." The whole world and all the system thereof is crucified. And crucifixion means put to death almost, it's a form of killing people. The most cruel way of killing a person was by crucifixion. So what was he saying? He was saying that as far as I am concerned, all the glory and all the possibilities and the potentials that are all in the world, he sees as something that is crucified, useless, absolutely useless for him. How does the world view Paul? Same way. The world will say that as far as we are concerned, you are useless for us, you are a crucified person, you are on the cross. So that's a great statement. That's a great statement. When we look at the world through our theological lenses, we can see the world only as crucified, nothing else. That's the only way. That's the only way we can look at it. We should see it that way. See, if the world is attractive to us in any way, there is a problem. We have not achieved the Christian worldview. No, we need the world only because we need to earn a living and all that. The primary use of this world for us is to win people for the Lord. Only here we can do that. So that's our. The second verse I wanted to look is very similar, Philippians 1:21. We all know that verse also. Paul declaring his philosophy of life. For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If the world is crucified to you and you are crucified to the Lord, then this formula is right. For me to live is Christ. The only reason to live is Christ. The only reason to live is Christ. Actually, to die is gain. A true Christian, if he has to make a choice between death or life, he has to make the choice for death because that's what's gain for him. He can be with Christ. All sorrows will be over with all the saints. That's going home and all. But there is one reason to live on the earth. That is to live. For me to live is Christ. Not live for Christ, but live is Christ. Life is equal to Christ. It's as if Christ is living in us. Those who are from Kerala, they can understand this a little better than people from outside because we have the rubber plantation there, We buy the seeds of good marthandam rubber and plant it. When the saplings come up, what do? We take the skin of the 105 or some better brand. We, then graft it to the marthandam rubber. martandem rubber, and then once the graft is fixed, you chop off the martandem rubber right above the grafting. Then that martandem skin sprouts, they grow. And if somebody come and ask, hello? Commercial.
You want me to put it on silent?
I can put it on silent. So you ask that if the rubber could speak, you ask the rubber tree, what are you? It will say, I'm 105. RR 105. Actually, the root system belongs to the martandem. Only that little part is 105. But if you ask the whole rubber tree, I live for 105. See? I draw water and fertilizer and everything for 105. My identity is lost. I am no more martandem. Everybody calls me, what rubber? RR 105. RR 105. That's what the real Christian is. We have to lose our identity. Christ is grafted into us. It's 105. It's Christ living. That's what Paul said. I no longer. That soul of Tarsus was chopped off. It's Christ living. We have to come to that's our philosophy of Christian living. That's our. When you theologically you have the right perspective, then it is for me to live is Christ, not live for Christ. Most of the Christians live for Christ. But somebody whose worldview is correct, for them to live is Christ. There's a whole difference between living for somebody and living is Christ. We are equated with Christ. So that's a point where we have to come. Now most of the good Christians, the best Christians, they say, yes, I live for Christ, brother. I live for Christ. No, for you to live is Christ? Well, that's very difficult. I'm still living, not Christ. I'm still living. I do what I want. I have my plans, I have my purposes, I have my future decisions and everything. But I believe the beneficiary is Jesus Christ in some way. But Jesus is not interested in that. Jesus is not interested in that. Jesus wants us to say that for me to live is Christ. Live is equal to Christ. There is no for and to and all. It is equal to Christ. When we live, for us to live is Christ, then only death is gain. Then only death is gain. As long as we are living for Christ, death is a loss. Because we are not only living for Christ, we are living for I am living for my wife, I am living for my children, grandchildren, I am living for so many people. So it's a loss. Everybody is suffering loss. If I am living is Christ, then when I die, I go with Christ. So there's no loss. It's a gain for me because for me to live is Christ, I am with Christ. So our perspective of life and our perspective of death will all change when our theological, that framework we put on. We look to the world through our right theology. Okay. So now we have come today, we wanted to start thinking about philosophy. Philosophy. Yes, many people don't like even the word philosophy. Because the image philosophers give is that they are unpractical people. They are armchair professors who only talk, won't do anything. They are the most impractical people. Any problem comes, they can give a lecture on it, but they cannot fix the problem. They are far from reality. That's the image. But that's not true. That's not true. That may be because the philosophers we met are not real people. Philosophy discusses, or the key question in philosophy is what is real and what is true. What is real and what is true. Remember, Pilate asked the question to Jesus Christ, what is truth? He had no time to listen to the answer. What is truth? What is real? The key idea in Christian philosophy is Jesus Christ is the truth. Jesus Christ is the truth. That's what Jesus was going to say to Pilate. I am the truth. And if you knew who I am, you would have refused to deal in this case. A creature sitting to judge the Creator. But he didn't want to hear it. Oh, he said, what is truth? He walked away. So Jesus Christ is the truth. Logos of God is ultimate reality and the ultimate truth. The Logos of God, that's our Lord Jesus Christ, the communicating agency of God. He is the ultimate reality and the ultimate truth. So philosophy for us is Jesus Christ. That's why C.S. Lewis said Christianity is Christ. Christianity is Christ. There is no Christianity without Christ, because Christianity is equal to Christ. Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, I am the door, I am the shepherd. So you take away Jesus Christ, in Christianity there is no truth, there is no way, there is no life, there is no door, there is no shepherd, there is no vine, nothing. Christianity is void. It's a big zero. It's a religion without any reality. So Christianity, philosophically speaking, Christianity is Christ. So our philosophy is the philosophy of Jesus Christ. So Christian philosophy is actually living Christ. Living Christ. That's what Christian philosophy is. Because He is the ultimate truth. But then philosophy always faces a great practical problem. Philosophy, that is the problem of assumptions. In philosophy, like in many other areas, we all begin with assumptions. The difference between Christian philosophy and worldly philosophy is simply a matter of assumptions. Christian philosophy begins with certain assumptions, while world philosophy begins with certain other assumptions. That's what it is. And we have to be humble enough to admit that, yes, we also operate on assumptions. Because Hebrews 11:6 says that he that cometh to God must believe that
He exists.
God He is. That's an assumption. Yes, there is a person called God. He begins his search for God, but that's the assumption on which he has to. If he has the assumption there is no God, everything is chance, his search will not be for God. His search will be for chances. What chances? What chances? Was it the Big Bang theory? That's a chance. What was the chance? It's a chance of the survival of the fittest. What is it? What's the chance? They will be talking about chance. So assumptions is a problem. If our assumption is not correct, our philosophy is going to be wrong. That throws us out of balance. It does. Because when you say if your assumptions are wrong, then your philosophy will be wrong, then you ask the question, where do I get the right assumptions from? Are assumptions something you can buy? Are assumptions something that you learn in classroom? If you learn in classroom, are the assumptions really? So that's a problem, that we have to deal with. Yes. So the problem of assumption is a big problem. Yes. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verses 4 and 5 summarizes the basic quest of Christian philosophy. We read that in our consideration of the theology also, an important passage in our study of the Christian worldview. The most important passage, I will say, is 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 4 and 5. What does it say?
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
See, that's what it is. We have two jobs. One is demolishing all false philosophies. Demolishing all false philosophies. Every high-minded thinking raised against the knowledge of God. That's one job. All the worldly philosophies, beginning with from where you want to go, as back as Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Seneca, and all those men you want to go. Wherever you want to go, you can go. We wanted to demolish their system of thinking because they all were against the knowledge of Christ. Our second job is taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. Every thought means every branch of knowledge, every discipline of education, whether it's economics or geography or political science or it is biology, whatever it is, medicine, engineering, whatever you want to call it, every branch of knowledge has to be taken captive to the knowledge of Jesus Christ. So we have demolishing false knowledge and bringing up, strengthening the right knowledge. That's a philosophical work we have to undertake. So this whole matter of demolishing unbiblical and anti-biblical thinking of the pagan philosophy is not an easy task. They claim to be highly rational and philosophical. However, we measured by biblical revelation, that the pagan system has no truth in them. Sometimes mixed with some truth and a lot of myths. So we have to attack them. This is the job not only of philosophers or theologians, this is the job of every Christian. Paul wrote those words not to philosophers, to the average Christian in the church at Corinth. The average Christian in the church at Corinth said that your job is demolition. You have to have big bulldozers whereby you will pull down all those worldly philosophies that have been built against the knowledge of Jesus Christ. You dig it to the foundation, throw them everyone. Then you start building your Christian foundation. That is, taking every thought, every branch of knowledge captive to the obedience of Christ. The danger of getting an education from a secular campus is this. Every Christian or non-Christian going to the secular campus is brainwashed with the secular philosophy. That's what they teach there. You have to go to a Christian institution to get a Christian education where the foundation is the knowledge of Christ. Yes. But that's very difficult to convince people. Don't send your children to secular colleges and universities. Of course, Apostle Paul himself went to secular university, University of Tarsus, one of the famous universities there. So it's possible. Daniel went to the University of Babylon. Moses was taught in all the wisdom of Egypt. But you can just know that they studied there, but they never accepted the philosophy of those states. That's why they stood up. They stood out over other people. Daniel was not influenced at all. Moses was not influenced. For 40 years he was trained, but he remained a true-blooded Jew. A true-blooded Jew. Joseph was in Egypt. It's very difficult to be trained by those institutions. So I say it's possible to go to a secular university and be trained. But how many people take a stand like Daniel? Average Christian is brainwashed, totally brainwashed, with the whole system. As I said, you can see in second grade and third grade, social studies book also that evolutionary, picture of where man is being developed from, and all that thing. Why they have to teach that in the social studies? It's there everywhere. Now we say the evolution of language, the evolution of medicine, the evolution of architecture, the evolution of everything is evolution. Because the secular world has taught our people to think in line of evolution. That's the only way. The word creation cannot be used anywhere in the classroom. So we are given this great job, demolition. This is called the demolition derby. You have seen, some of you may have seen the demolition derby, where there will be hundreds of cars. The object of every car is to demolish the other car. So you can hit anywhere you want. But make sure your car is not demolished. So finally one car will survive, all the other cars will be gone. And that one car that survives is Christianity, the Christian philosophy. That's where our job is. So that's not simple. That's not simple. Paul tried to do that at Athens. He demolished the Athenian philosophy. Wherever he went, that's why people were saying what? They were turning the world upside down. These people are teaching us customs that are not acceptable to us. He was teaching a new custom, a new lifestyle, a new value, a new God, new everything. People knew that. Paul and his team, they were not doing a whitewash. They were not just, covering up some of the cracks. No, they were demolishing and rebuilding. It's demolition and rebuilding. So you cannot live a Christian while your philosophy is unchristian or non-Christian. No. Philosophy has to be right. So all pagan system, we may say there is some truth, yes. It's just like that, the garbage we throw away will have many vitamins and minerals in it, but nobody wants to take them. That's exactly the way I see. You have rotten tomatoes and rotten, spoiled milk and all. They still have their vitamins and they still have their minerals and all that in it. But who wants them? Even the dog won't lick them. So we throw them away. The world is like that. The world is like that. The demolishing itself is a difficult task. To bring all disciplines of academics to the subjection of the knowledge of Christ is yet more difficult. Christology measures the truthfulness of any system of knowledge, any system of knowledge. Christology is the measuring, because you bring them under the knowledge of Jesus Christ. It's not very easy. The Hindus, how they do, when they build a home, whom do they first consult? Vastu. See, that's their system, right? The Hindu philosophy of life. Even though they are engineers, even though they may have, PhD in civil engineering or architecture or whatever may be, when the building is to be constructed, first they bring the Vastu man. He will take a look at the plot, and then he will decide where the kitchen should be, where the living room should be, this should be, that should be. But what about the Christian? Vastu. See that? Now this is a problem. This is a problem. The world has so successfully demolished Christian philosophy of life, and they have established their philosophy of life, the Hindu philosophy of life. When a child is born, most everything. A Christian son, they are doing the same thing. It's sad, isn't it? But Bible demands us that all philosophies of life must be subjected to the philosophy of Jesus Christ. Yes. In Colossians 2:8, another important passage for our consideration, it's talk about philosophy, worldly philosophy. Verse 2, Colossians 2:8 reveals the essential nature of pagan philosophy. There are four things that are very clearly stated by Paul. Number one, they are based on deceit. They are based on deceit. Number two, they are based on human tradition. They are based on human tradition. Number three, they are based on elemental forces of the world, or the elementary forces of the world. They are based on the elementary forces of the world. Number four, they are not based on the knowledge of Christ. Will somebody read Colossians 2:8?
Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ.
Yeah. These worldly philosophy of life is built on empty deceit and human traditions, but the third one is all the more important because people think that's something very much. You know what's that? The elementary forces of the world. The elementary forces of the world. What are the elementary forces of the world? For the Hindu, it is the wind, the fire, the water, you know. They are the elementary forces of the world. They go everything around them. The fire. When they have a wedding, what they'll do? The bride and groom will walk 7 times around the fire, the elementary forces. The water they will have, the Ganges and all those holy rivers. The water is very, very important. Hanuman, who he represents? The wind. The wind god. See that the elementary forces, how it comes?
Stars.
Yes.
Stars. Stars.
Yes, stars. The stars. And all these things, the elementary forces. And Paul says we need to demolish them one by one, attack them. Now they are giving PhD in astrology. They say astrology is a science. Getting a PhD in astrology. Can't think of it. So all these things, they are the nature, they are essentials of the pagan philosophy of life. They are based around these things. So what are we supposed to do? Demolish them. Bring all our thinking in line with the thinking of Christ, the philosophy of Christ, the knowledge of Christ, the logos. The lens of Jesus Christ, Christology has to be put upon us and look at them. Then only we understand how misguiding and how demonic these things are. They are demonic, truly. We Christians are having that warfare. Didn't Apostle Paul said that? We do not wage war against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and all these wickedness in the high places. Constantly we are. The stars, talk about. You take any magazine, what do you see? This week for you, right? Even sometimes when I was 13, 14 years old, my father has sent me for something to another home. That was a home of one of the elders of the church, and I saw they had a cow, and the cow had a coconut shell on the head tied, and what they call them, shankar, shell, yeah, that was tied. So it was fascinating to me. Why should the cow should have a coconut shell? And well, then I came back and I talked with my father. Said that I saw this one. They said this is to protect the cow from bad omen. happened to be one of the elders of the church. Their cow is having this. It is very, very, very danger. One day somebody sent us a kilo of, some halwa made at home. He said, very good halwa. As I was eating the halwa, I got a leaf, which is a leaf called panal in Kerala, So I asked my mother, why put this leaf in halwa? So my mother said that they put it in a kodikutta. I don't know how to translate that into
But one doesn't get more greedy.
yeah, or something. So, and I laughed, I say that Christians doing these things. As soon as a child is born, what does our old grandparents and all? They ask for what they call the panchangam, where the nada, what do you call the nada? Star, yeah, the star is written and all. Why they want to know the star, God gave us 5 children and 12 grandchildren. We don't know anybody's star. But they all look at the star and they say this and that, So my point is, we Christians living in India, we are 60% or 70% Hindus and only 30% Christians. Our faith is Christian, but our lifestyle and philosophy of life, worldview is Hindu, pagan. The Lord wants us to demolish that. Where we will start demolishing it? Right in our home. Judgment starts always at home. We need to take apart. I don't know about your personal life, but I know in the life of a lot of Christians there are these things. When they come to fixing the date of the marriage or the hour of the marriage and all, they have what they call the muhurtam, this and that, the auspicious time and all these sort of things. And this is what is a paganism, total paganism. When the bride comes into the new home, make sure that she places her right foot. There will be somebody, mole, where all these things came? Paganism. So Paul was exhorting the believers at Corinth and the believers at Colossae, they are all for us. All these epistles are for us, that we must demolish them. We must understand that the pagan system, they are based on deceit, empty deceit, that's why they are simply to deceive people. There are absolutely no reality. Of course there is reality for the non-Christians. Because in Deuteronomy we read that the Lord has given the stars and all these things to non-Christians. But as for us, we have the Lord who made them. We have the Lord who made them. There is, in Deuteronomy chapter 6 or 7 somewhere said that. You are a unique people. The Lord has given these stars to the pagans, to the Hindus. They live by it. Everybody has to have something to live by. When you don't have the real God, then you will go by that. The human tradition, Hindus claims what? Our system is time immemorial. 2000 BC, 1500 BC. So they talk about the tradition. The Ayurveda. The Ayurveda is, that is the 5th Veda to increase your age. There are many good things in it. You say that yes, medicines, but it's all based upon traditions. And I said, elementary forces of the world, the stars, the air, the fire, the water, and all those things. Panchabhudam, they call it. Panchabhudam. Panchabhuda, then dissolving. That's all the key. They talk about it. All their pujas are related to these things. All their pujas. So living in India, a thorough knowledge about this Christian philosophy of life is, not something good, but something essential, absolutely essential if we have to live Christians. So the pagan worldview is a philosophy of deceit and human tradition. that has the elemental forces of the world as foundation. Christian philosophy says clearly that Jesus Christ is the Logos. That's the explanation for the universe and everything in it. Logos is the source of all realities of the world. Logos is the absolute cause of all causes. And Logos is the uncaused cause of all causes. In the beginning was the Logos. And without the Logos, nothing came into existence. Everything came into existence through the Logos. In Him everything exists. We live and move in Him. So Logos, our Lord Jesus Christ, is the philosophy we have. So we believe very strongly in the Christian philosophy because that is Christ's philosophy. That's Christ's philosophy. We need to study Jesus Christ. The worldly philosophy accuses Christianity as unscientific. That's what they usually say. Oh, Christian philosophy is unscientific, they say. Is it unscientific? No. But we Christians claim that the Christian doctrines of God, creation, logos, design, purpose, law, order, etc. are consistent with the findings of science, history, archaeology and personal experience. But on the other hand, pagan philosophy and dialectical materialism could never measure to the test of truth. Only Christian philosophy can measure to the truth. Nothing else. You talk to some of the Hindu philosophers, Krishnamurti, a famous one, Dr. Radhakrishnan, another one. There are many Christian philosophers, the Hindu philosophers. Their books are very difficult for us. Krishnamurti's book and all, if you pick up and you read, it's very difficult to understand what is he talking. But he is one of the most popular philosophers. Such people. But what are they talking? They're talking this nonsense. There's no sense to it. But when you read Bible, what a book it is. What a book it is. What a great book it is. So the accusation of the pagan philosophers that Christianity is unscientific, is a myth. It's a myth. Christianity is the most scientific philosophy in the world because it begins with Logos, God. So for everything there must be a cause, right? There is no effect without a cause. So if everything has a cause, then the first cause will have an uncaused cause. You keep on going back and back, every effect has a cause and every effect has a cause and a cause, then the first effect will have a cause. But that cause has to be uncaused cause. Otherwise that will have again, you have to have a cause. So where will you go? You keep going back. Finally you come to the uncaused cause. That's our Logos in the beginning. Of course, where does Hinduism begins? In the beginning was Om, the Omkar. So what is Om? Sound, huh? You know what Om is? Om is the sound. Om is the sound. Some of these. What was Shiva's wife's name? Yeah, I said that. Om is the sound Parvati makes when Shiva beats her. Whenever he beats something, she says, "Oh." Don't tell anybody I said it. What is Omkar anyway? They say that in the beginning was this, this pulsation, the pulsation, that's the sound, making the sound. So how the sound is going to become the Brahma and how the sound is going to make the creation? What formula you going to come up with? I don't know. But Bible speaks about a personal Logos. In the beginning was the Logos was with Theos, And the Logos was Theos, God, And God is a person. The universe begins with a person. The person has a mind. The mind only can think. The mind only has intelligence. The mind only can make plans. Om doesn't have any mind. The mind cannot exist independently. The mind has to exist in a person. So in the beginning was the personal Logos. That's the Christian philosophy. It starts with a person. Only a person can make a person. So God created man in His image. Everything else was created not in God's image. They are matter, they are material, They are not created in the image of God. Personal God created man, a personal being. Thinking God created man with the faculty of thinking. Feeling God created man with the faculty of feeling. Willing God created man with the faculty of willing. So that, we can understand who God is. An impersonal being can never understand a personal being. Never understand a personal being. So God is a person and He created a personal being. So Christian philosophy is the most scientific philosophy. Somebody asked the question, did the chicken or the egg which came first? The chicken or or the hen or the egg which came first? Which came first? Chicken came first. But why? Yes. Only the chicken can make a movement. See, the egg cannot make movement. Creation is a force. Creation is an act. The egg keeping somewhere, the egg cannot make the move. The chicken makes the move. That's the beginning of life. So God always made, God is very logical, God is very correct. God did not create a bunch of eggs and said, now you take over. Because eggs cannot take over and do anything. So God made all animals. The moment life, He made life. Only life can move. If God created an egg, of course, the unfertilized egg will not hatch, right? So God has to make a fertilized egg. Of course, God is able to do that. But that egg needs either an incubator or a hen to hatch it. So what's the point? So God made a pair of, chicken, a rooster and a hen. That's the beginning of that life. So how logical that is? The other is how illogical. It's totally illogical. Some worldviews accuse that the Christian worldview cannot be real since faith is a major element of it. That's very true. Not the accusation, but faith is the basic element of our worldview. Faith is the basic element of our worldview. And they say that since faith is the basic element or major element, it cannot be true. Why? Why? Christian worldview has postulations outside the material realm, and therefore cannot be true, they say that. They say hope, faith, etc. are needed to prove Christian worldview and therefore cannot be worthy to follow. Who would live or die for a worldview of faith and hope, they say. That's their accusation. You start talking about Christian worldview, immediately comes that we believe. They say that you believe. You say you believe. You can believe anything you want. But what do you do? What do you do? You ask the scientists, what do you do? In the beginning was the matter, right? And you ask, how do you know? We believe that. That's what they say. So I thought only Christians believe. So you also believe? But then your belief has less credibility because a matter, how can the matter come into self-existence? Matter has no life. Matter is dead things. So how can the dead thing come into existence by itself? So it doesn't make any difference. When we say God made, God is an eternal person. He is full of life, self-existing. So He has the power to make things. He can make matter, but how can matter make matter? So the accusation that our system has hope and faith and all that thing makes it less reliable or worthy than the pagan system is a wrong accusation. Some Christians even concede to the pagan idea that faith is indefensible. They take Colossians 2:8 to mean that God does not want us to enter into any dialogue with philosophy, for it is vain and deceitful. But Paul is saying that philosophy based on vain deceit and human tradition, etc., are unworthy to meddle with. Our philosophy is based on faith, and that's what makes it all the more important. Why? Because the whole universe exists on the principle of faith. We all believe in gravity, right? But why do you believe in gravity? Why do you believe in gravity?
See the effect.
What effect? The apple comes down, right? But you only see the apple coming down. The other inference is? Inference is your assumption, right? There is something beyond. There's something beyond, something below. So that's your assumption. So who does not live on assumption? One of the MSc physics student, he appeared for his vivavos, and his professor, external professor, asked, suppose you dig all the way through and get to the other side. What will you see when you get to the middle of this? He said, I am not going to imagine that. You cannot do it, sir. He said, you cannot do it. Who is going to drill all the way through the... Professor said, no, that's not right, but we could or imagine. Why you want to imagine something that's not practical? See, I'm an MSc student. I don't want to imagine anything that's just imaginary. Have you ever drilled? No, suppose. So why should I suppose? You ask me something real. You ask me something real. But the point is, everybody is on assumptions. You make inferences. So, an apple coming down, you infer that the gravity is pulling it down. But blessings come down, we infer that God is bringing it down. Which is better, a personal God giving us blessings, or an impersonal something is pulling the apple from the tree? But then the question is, the apple falls on the ground, right? Why the apple doesn't go down? The gravity is still pulling it, right? Or there is an equal and opposite reaction, right? Or the masses of the earth is pulling it up. Is that the reason? Yeah. So some Christians, they say that, okay, you have an argument, but we have a better argument. The Bible does not ask Christians to abandon reason in accepting truth. God is challenging us to come to Him for a dialogue, isn't it? In Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18, what does Jehovah say? Come, let us argue. Bring your argument. In history there was another man who wanted to have a debate with God, a dialogue with God, and he did have a dialogue with God. His name was Job. He found out that he has done a very bad job. Yes. And he confessed, I have gone too far. I have gone too far. Peter in 1 Peter 3:15 is challenging all Christians to be logically convinced about the reasonableness of Christian hope. Doesn't say that. Anybody asking you about your hope, what must you do?
Give a reason.
Your reason. That means that you have a reason for your hope. If you are holding on to your hope without a reason, then something wrong with you. You believe that Jesus Christ is going to come? Is that your hope? You believe that your body is going to be resurrected if you die? What reason? What reason? There is a historical resurrection. They killed a man called Jesus. They buried him. They sealed the tomb. But what happened? He rose again. So is that reason enough to believe that there is resurrection? Yes. They have not disproved that. They are trying to disprove it. They have brought so many theories against resurrection. First they brought the theory of, stealing, robbery, midnight robbery theory. Well, the interesting thing is, how did you know that it was robbery? Because you were sleeping anyway. Right? All that you could say, when we got up, the thing was not there. How could, if you know that it was stolen, then why you didn't stop them? See, that theory falls even at the beginning itself. How can you say that? Because there is option. This man said that he will rise again on the third day. His enemy said that they will come and, rob his body. Now how you soldiers know that? In addition to, why were you put there? To sleep? No, see, that's the saddest thing. Then there came the other story, that the mistaken tomb story. They say that Martha and all these women, it was early morning, there were many tombs there, so they went to the wrong tomb. Well, then why you didn't take out the body from the right tomb? And on the day of Pentecost, all that you have to do is, when Peter said that this Jesus whom you have crucified, the Lord has raised him up and made him, they just bring the body and throw it there, and here is your Jesus. Why didn't he do it? Oh, they also have the problem of the wrong tomb. Then some say that, hallucination theory. Hallucination means that all these women and everybody who went to see Jesus, and they were all under hallucination because of the extreme pain and all. They have taken some of these, what do you call them, marijuana or LSD or some of these things, and they were all under. And it's amazing that in the history of the world, 500 people who took drugs all had the same hallucination. What a miracle that is. Everybody had the same hallucination. Jesus Christ is risen. These are stupid people who say all these kind of stories. All these kinds of stories. Then the biggest is, the disciples together cooked up a story. Because they wanted to make a religion. And they wanted to be the founders of the religion and make some money and all. After all, for 3 years they were with Jesus Christ, thinking he will be the king and all that. Now that has gone. They said, hey, we need to make some money, so we have to come up with something. So let us come up with a story. What? Jesus is risen. 11 out of 12 disciples were martyred. Who won't say that, don't kill me, I'll say the truth. In the world, why people lie? Why people lie? People lie for one of the two, either for fear or for profit. So, if it is a fear of what? If they speak the truth, if Jesus is not risen, and if they admit that, there is any punishment for them? No. Well, the enemies will be very happy. So that motivation is gone. Then the other is profit. What profit? So these sort of arguments, one by one. Then there is this theory called the swoon theory. Then Jesus, he was not really dead when they took him out very early, and even Pilate wondered, he died so soon. They put him there, and this 100 pounds of all those ointment and frankincense and all these things, and the tomb was cool. Probably there were some holes there, and the wind blew in, and then Jesus Christ, shake his head and came out. Woo! And then he has pushed out the big stone. The question is, how could he push it out? Because they were all, tied up, his hands and everything tied up. The Jewish burial, if anybody knows about the Jewish burial, they know that, how they tie up. They bind them with clothes like this, keeping his hands, and then they put the embalming compound, and then another layer, then they put some, it's 100 pounds, Then again they put it on. So there will be 4 or 5 layers of it, and then the head and everything is tied, and this man had life, and then he just, pushed with well. That big stone, and all the soldiers who were standing there. Pilate had medical doctors go and check, verify, give the certificate. The Roman procedure of declaring a person dead is not that easy, especially when he is a prime candidate like Jesus Christ. Every one of those theories, they fell apart. So what is the reason? Give a reason for our hope, so that Jesus Christ is our reason. Jesus Christ, he rose again, and he appeared one time to 500 people, again and again to disciples. If 2 witnesses can settle anything, then dozens of witnesses will settle. Over 500 witnesses. Why don't you accept their testimony? So we have a reason for the Christian philosophy of life is not based upon, some funny stories. No, it is not. It's not based upon some funny stories. It's all truth. It's all truths. So Peter wants us to give an account, give the reason for our faith, our hope, and we definitely had. There was a man called C.E.M. Joad, J-O-A-D, Joad. He was not a believer in God most of his life. However, towards the end of his life, he wrote, "It is because the religious view of the universe seems to me to cover more of the facts of experience than any other that I have begun gradually and led to embrace Christianity." He said that the religious view of the universe, as presented in the Bible, it embraces more truth than any other view. So finally that atheist became a theist. He said, "I now believe that the balance of reasonable considerations tilts heavily in favor of the religion, even of the Christian view of the world." It is interesting to observe here that it is this same Joad who teamed up with Bertrand Russell on BBC radio to attack Christianity for many years. C.M. Joad and Bertrand Russell had a radio program on BBC which attacked Christianity for many years, but in the end he became a believer in Jesus Christ. Truth will win. Truth will win. Philosophy has to deal with certain fundamental questions of life. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going to? Pagan philosophies cannot give an answer to this. Evolution cannot give an answer to this. You read through all the Hindu Puranas, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, and all the Upanishads, and all the other, there are many other books. Manusmriti's interpretation of these things, and you read all those things, you will come up with absolute nothing on these questions. Who am I? Who am I? Maya. Adi Shankara taught about monism. that God and man, there is only one essence. They all belong to the same. They are all same. Man is God, God is man, and matter is God, and everything is this, that. So he taught his disciples there is no reality. There is no reality. Everything is Maya. Everything you can touch and see, they are all Maya. So one day, this man was walking and he was chased by an elephant. He ran for life. He fell. He bruised his knees and hands and he was in great pain, bleeding, and he came to the disciples. So looking at him with pain, the disciples said, Guru, didn't you say that everything is Maya? Then why are you paining? He said, your Guru is Maya, the elephant was Maya, chasing was Maya, my running was Maya, my falling is Maya, these wounds are Maya, my pain is also Maya. You cannot run away from the realities of life. None of them is Maya, they are all real. They are all real, Yes, so Adi Shankara has influenced so many people and he has established how many madams? The Kanchi madam, the 5 madams I think. Yes, Shankaracharya sitting there and here, all those things. Yes. He has brought back the Jadi Vyavastha, all those things. He is the father of it. Yes, that they all cannot explain. So to the question, who am I? What's the answer? Who am I? Who are you? What's your answer?
Created by God.
Yes, I'm created not only by God, but I'm created in the image and the likeness of God. You could say that I'm an image bearer of God. I'm an image bearer of God. I am an idol of God. What is it? I'm an image bearer of God. God already made one idol, that's man, in his own image. No more idols. Yes. So the question, who am I, is a very important question. Where did I come from? It's a very big question. Where did I come from? I come from the eternal plan and purpose of God. Everything about me, God planned, God decided, God decreed, God made. My body came from the soil and my soul spirit came from the breath of God. That's where I come from. So when I die, my body goes to the earth, but my breath, soul, spirit, they go to the place that is destined for it. If its sins are forgiven, it goes back to the Creator, otherwise it goes to another place, waiting for the day of judgment. See, we have answer, they don't have answer. So you ask them where does the body goes, they say Panchabhutam marum. The 5 elements are converted to 5 elements, so they burn it. Then what about the spirit? Oh, the spirit. They have a big problem about the spirit, That's the wandering around and troubling people, what they call prayagam. All that thing. So that's, they don't have an answer again there. They don't have an answer. Yes. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why are you here? Can you give the answer? Why you are here? God created man with the 3 offices. Man is a priest, man is a prophet, man is a king. Every man. As a priest, he is to offer this whole universe to God as a sweet-smelling sacrifice. That's our job. As a prophet, we have to declare, interpret this world for God. God has created, we need to interpret this world, tell others. And as a king, we have to capture the whole world for the Lord Jesus Christ. He said, go, have dominion, subdue everything. The fall did not work it out. Man failed as a prophet, his interpretation went wrong. Man failed as a priest, he couldn't sanctify the world, but he was involved only in sin, defiled it. He failed as a king. He is not conquering the world for Jesus Christ, but the world is conquering. Instead of conquering it, his little mosquito catches man in the net. See that? Most of the people are inside the net and mosquito is outside. So who is caught in the net? The man is to catch the mosquitoes in the net, but mosquitoes are catching men in the net. That's what's happening. So who is conquering whom? Man failed totally, I say. Man failed. We are given the commandment, go conquer everything. Everything God created, the sun, moon, the stars, the earth and everything. Man was to subdue it and bring it under his subjection. And then present to the Lord. Here it is a gift back to you. That's our job today also. We have to sanctify this world because we are the priests.
Can you clarify that point?
Yes, clarify. Man was created to work and to take care of this earth, right? Yes. Suppose man had eaten the tree of life, what would have happened?
Live forever.
He lived forever. In what? He would be confirmed in holiness and he will be living forever. So, what about all the animals and all the other things? Death was a principle that came subjected to. So then what will man be doing? The created universe, the man will be sanctifying and it will be continuously offering, just like the heavens declare the glory of God. All these created animals and all the created plants and flowers will be declaring the glory of God. Now it's all cursed. Thistles and thorns, sweats and all. So it's not a sanctified world, but it is a cursed world. Now it will be sanctified again one day. So as prophet we were to interpret the world. What's the purpose of creation? We would have been explaining, what's the purpose of every star. We will be saying, what's the purpose of this flower, this animal was created in such and such a design, what God meant it for, everything. Now we cannot approach the elephant to explain. Neither the lion. What animals? Is there even a mosquito? We are totally lost. We are not subduing the earth. God wanted all the creation to be brought under subjection. All these principles God has given, including gravity and all these principles and everything. Man was to study it, man was to bring it, and man was to be the king over this universe, but man has lost it. And today that's our responsibility still remains that. But what is man doing? Man is a slave. The master has become the slave of this universe. Man is subjected to all the elements. All the elements. God created an air-conditioned world. Where man was to live for thousands and thousands and thousands, forever. So man was above all these things, but now man, he cannot go out in the winter time, he comes in with running nose. See what happens. So who is winning? So we go out like what? In the winter, you go places where there is snowfall and all. People go out like, the astronauts went over there and walking like this. What is this you are doing? We are subjected to all the elements. So we are a defeated people. How nice it would have been. So, why we are here? We are here for a purpose. Yes. So the question, where are you going? Because I am defeated, I am not able to fulfill my functions. I have only two places to go, either heaven or hell. Heaven Only if I am reconciled back with God and I regained my positions of being a prophet and a priest and a king, then I will go there or I will go to hell. Is it terrible? I think that's terrible. How to get there? Only one answer. I am the way. The Lord Jesus Christ. The Lord Jesus Christ. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? It's beautiful. David Livingstone went to East Africa. He wanted to be a witness for the Lord to tell those people about the love of Christ. But, David Livingstone has conquered the African continent. The people in Egypt had a mythological faith that the river Nile never dried in the history. It was almost called the blue waters in it, Blue Nile. Where the water came from? Oh, they believed the sky was blue, the water was blue, so it came from heaven, It was David Livingstone who went and found out that the waters in the Nile came from Victoria Lake. He found out the Victoria waterfalls and the Victoria Lake, and then he found out that water flows down the river Nile. They lost one of their gods. My point is, a man wanted to preach the gospel was not just a preacher. He was granted the great honors by the National Geography, and a FRGS degree fellow of the Royal College of Geography. And he was a great man of God. He had inventions, not only preaching the gospel. And I think every Christian is supposed to do that. Christians should be doing research on how to solve AIDS and all these, cancer and all these things. We should be. How the stars work, how the moons work and all these things. We are prophets, we are to interpret this, and we are kings and we have to conquer this. But what are we Christians doing? We are not fulfilling our job. We are doing what the secular people ask us to do. That's exactly what Christians are. Christians are employed by atheists and agnostics and Marxists and secularists. They are employed by. Today, Christians are working for Satan. And today, Christians are working for Satan. In the sense because most of the institutions are run by them. A lot of Christians work for Procter and Gamble, who finance Satan worship and all, for example, they said, Or on India television, some people have said that they also contribute money towards that. I don't know, I don't know, but But whatever may be, there's a lot of things. So in another sense, what I'm saying is that the Christians do not realize why they are here. What are they supposed to do? We are spokesmen for God. We are the prophets of God to interpret this universe. This universe does not operate upon certain natural laws of gravity and all. It has certain spiritual principles. That's what the most important. The Creator. This is a creation. The Creator, the design, the intention of the Creator. We need to tell the world why these things are. We have to capture them. So, great Christians have done that, That's what they do. When they go somewhere, they start schools and they start hospitals and all. Why? Because they wanted to educate the people so that they will read the Bible. That's the first book they wanted to give. It's sad to say that Christian missionaries gave education, and Karl Marx and the communism gives them the literature to read. That's what happened. Christian missionaries taught them to write and read, and the Marxists gave them literature to read. Because we failed. We failed. We cannot. So all these important questions, none of the pagan worldviews can answer. No, they have no answers. Who am I? They say you are just a bag of chemicals. Where did I come from? Well, from a sea of protoplasm? Or where else? Why are you here? No purpose, just a chance. Where are you going? Nowhere. Nowhere. You have no answer. What purpose those people have? I usually ask you, to some atheist, sir, what's the purpose of your living? I don't have any purpose. Then why are you living? It's an accident. It's an accident. I never planned to be here. Just by accident came here. So I'm living. That's it. Living without knowing why one is living. So they have to come to the Bible to get answers to these questions. Not too many inquirers asked for the existence of God. They all believe it. Who asked? And a survey was made some years back and they found that more than 95% of the world population believe in God. Some form of God. May not be true God, but they believe in God. There is a God. Only 5%. Or less than 5%. And this 5%, the minority has made us on the defensive. Is that shame? 5% to put the 95% on the defensive. Tell us why you believe in God. We should be asking, you dumb person, tell us why you rejected what 95% of the people are believing it. How come you don't believe it? That's a sad thing. That's a sad thing. So we have Bible, we have answers to all these questions. And when we give these answers, 95% of the people are satisfied because they believe in God. They believe in God. Most of them do not require any reasoned answers for God's existence because they believe in His existence. Yes. Very few people will say, give me a reason or an evidence to believe in God, then I will believe. No. All those who believe in God, they believe without any evidence. Without any evidence. They just believe it. Because that's the most natural thing. Even as it is so natural for a born child to breathe, who taught the child to breathe? Some yoga teacher? See, a born child start breathing. That's natural. Faith in God is also natural like that. Every child who breathes has the knowledge of God. Knowledge of God. When somebody at certain age begin to, pump into their nostrils these poisonous gases, and then the answer comes, there is no God. As long as they are breathing the natural air, the answer is always God. The Russians tried it, the Chinese tried it. For 2-3 generations, they have repeatedly, every single day in the classroom, they taught these children to repeat after them, there is no God, there is no God, there is no God. Then one day, all children said, there is God. And they said, we can never erase. How hard you erase, the next morning that comes up again, there is God. Because it's written in the soul of every man. Bible says it's written in the heart of every man. It's in the flesh written. You cannot erase it. You can maybe cover it with a cloth. That's what do the atheists and the Gnostics, they only cover it. They know that it's in their heart. So at the moment of their death and all, they say that if you hear me saying God or something, don't worry, I am saying it in my unconscious mind. Yes, that's the point. You're saying it in your unconscious mind that God? So mean all these years, 60 years, you're an atheist, your unconscious mind is not cleared? That's true, they cannot. Paul speaking at Athens mentioned how all Athenians believed in God. Most people in the world look to God when they have a serious problem in life for answers. Jean Piaget, P-I-A-G-E-T. Jean Piaget was a child psychologist and has observed that almost all 7-year-olds believe that the world was created by God with a purpose. She has taken a survey of all the children. Before they were taught any evolution, they were all asked the question, who created the world? They all gave the answer, God. So, she's a child psychologist and all children below the age of 7 have the answer, God created. Now you start teaching them what? No, God, no God. That's the way it goes. So everybody, it makes absolute sense to believe that a personal God created the heavens and the earth than to believe a series of explosions brought the universe to existence. Now we come to the most important and probably a little difficult part of this philosophical consideration, that is called epistemology. You know what epistemology is? What is epistemology?
Study of truth.
True?
Study of truth.
Study of truth. No, epistemology is actually a theory of knowledge. Yes, theory of knowledge. It answers the question, how do we know what we know is truth? How do we know what we know is truth? Epistemology is the theory of knowledge. It answers the question, how do we know what we know is truth? So time. Okay, we'll take a break now. All right.